Up next, it's our daily truth check, truth or fake, for which I'm joined by James Creedon. Hello, James.
Hi, Tom.
Now, you're looking at accusations that election fraud is being planned here in France. Of course, we're just a month away from the second round of the French presidential election, 2 weeks from the first round. Those accusations are being levelled on Twitter. What are you seeing?
Well, when we remember back to the fallout of the American election, there was all sorts of accusations from the Trump camp of voter fraud and complicity by companies like Smartmatic or Dominion, and the fallout of that is still playing out in courts with defamation suits being filed by these election tech companies against various media and such. So in France, with the run-up to the presidential election very much upon us, we've seen a huge amount of tweets in the last few days accusing, I suppose, the French state and the presidency or the Interior Ministry of using Dominion voting systems with a view to, I suppose, having election fraud here in France and rigging the election. So some of the tweets that have been, I suppose, propping up or supporting this theory, this fake news theory, are shown in this article here on the Observer's website. Jair Bolsonaro, a quote from the Brazilian president saying, "This French election is a complete joke. Tout est truqué. Everything is completely rigged, etc., etc." And so that was one of the quotes. But unsurprisingly, if you put that quote into Google in whatever language you want, you're not going to find it anywhere else. Perhaps an indication that it's completely invented. And again, here you see the Mexican president with a similar quote. The French election is a complete gamble. There's only one official. The official candidate is going to be able to put the election in his pocket, so to speak. It's a pure illusion, he says here. And so there were a huge amount of tweets such as that. This is another example of such tweets with similar claims. This is a spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, a spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, and it's coming out with again a similar statement. Sergei Lavrov, again something similar, and indeed there was. So you can see there's a huge amount of tweets claiming this. None of those quotes, Tom, could be found anywhere else on social media. One of our journalists contacted the person behind that Twitter account, who unsurprisingly didn't want to make any comment whatsoever. So I think it's pretty safe to say that these quotes are all completely invented, and that the Dominion. Also worth pointing out that the Interior Ministry spoke to several media, Le Monde, TF1, and others, saying that they are not using Dominion voting systems at all. And in fact, electronic voting is a very small fraction of votes in France. About 1.3 million voters use electronic voting across 63 communes. So it's still a majority of paper ballots here in France.
Okay, let's move on to Ukraine. Lots of fake news the last month or so, even longer than that. Yeah. Now there are claims that relics and a crucifix have been removed from the cathedral in Kyiv and stored somewhere else out of concern they might actually get damaged. Truth or not?
That's right. So this claim has been circulating in a video going back about a week or more, still circulating on social media. And what you see is these are stills from that video saying that in order to protect these precious relics in this cathedral, they were being taken to safekeeping elsewhere. And you can see here images claiming to show faithful kneeling down in front of these relics and the crucifix as it was transported along. In any case, it didn't take a huge amount of sleuthing with the usual kit of tools, reverse image searching of screen grabs and whatnot, to bring it back to a video from 2015, and it was actually a funeral procession. And if you look at the details in the video, you can actually see a coffin in some of those stills. You can see there. So it was nothing to do with relics being brought to safety. And again, elements of context. If you are to take a closer look at some of the motivations behind this war, indeed, some have even been saying that there's a big religious aspect to it, with Russia wanting to, I suppose, in some ways bring Ukraine back into the fray. Kiev has been compared to Jerusalem for Christian orthodoxy. It's an important historical city. So the Russians would be highly unlikely to do any damage to a cathedral or a religious site when you see, for example, the Patriarch of Moscow, Kirill, very much being an ally of Vladimir Putin and a supporter of this invasion of Ukraine. So it's highly unlikely that there would be any damage to religious sites.
Okay.
Bogus claim.
Thank you very much indeed, James Creedon, for today's edition of Truth or Fake.